This is New Vine's From the Vine podcast. And yes, we have officially embraced that. And today we have in studio with us Leo from Leo and the Maydays. Say hello, everybody. I don't know you at all.
Not even a little.
I'm going to have literally no information to pull from on this one.
Oh, what an interesting episode we have today. That's right. Fish here, as you know, and we have Hannah from Leo and the Maydays here.
That is her actual name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew?
So, yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, what you been up to? What you been doing?
I've been doing a lot. Okay, so we're covering me as a human being and me as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
As a human being, I've been working a lot. I got a lot of side jobs. As an artist, I have been playing as much as possible, working on new material, and as always, looking for ways to support art financially with things that are not art.
Right. So you're a part of New Vine Records, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit record label, which sounds like a completely dichotomistic reality, and it kind of is in practice. It's very hard to operate that way, but New Vine is discovering how to do that, and you're a major part of that because right now you are the official. It sounds really important. CEO.
It's not that important.
CEO.
It sounds important.
Yes, the board has designated Hannah as the CEO. New Vine is run by artists, so it's a record label collective run for the artist, by the artist. And that's something we've always dreamed about. You hear these horror stories, which I'm sure we'll get into in further podcasts, of record label executives or record labels and how they've treated artists in the past. There's documentaries out the wazoo about these things. Specifically, the 30 Seconds to Mars one sticks out to me with Jared Leto and how that was all handled with Guy Hand, I think it was his name. It's a dynamic that's a challenge. Would you not agree?
I would definitely agree.
Maybe you can go into that a little bit as I eat my
Doing the Starburst.
Starburst.
We'll do the segment later too.
Yeah, we have
thing.
a special segment in store for you all.
You got to save the chomping though for the segment.
Yeah.
Turn away.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear it yet.
Just close your eyes.
Yeah.
I think that what we're trying to do is be a record label that actually serves artists, which I think is how record labels maybe initially started out functioning, and then they very quickly, just like everything in our world today, got corrupted by people getting a lot of power all at once and a lot of money all at once, and then just wanting to hold on to that. So it's been very hard, but we're trying our best to create an organization that functions as a record label in all the ways that a record label is needed, but doesn't overstep and kind of like suffocate the artist and what they want to do and their independence.
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah.
That word.
Yeah, it sounds like a true collective.
Yeah.
Of like-minded people. It's kind of like it's one big family and an free exchange of ideas, and that's awesome. And I'm very, as an outsider, kind of looking in some respects, and I'm seeing that dynamic, and it's a cool community, So it's been fun to learn more about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The energy is infectious when we're all together as artists, like at different things and supporting one another. And music is competitive by nature. You're never going to get away from that. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't there, it wouldn't be real. Yeah. I mean, let's just be honest. We care about our own bands, we care about our own expressions, but there's a level of maturity I think that can extend beyond that, where a scene forms or a group of people can help each other, kind of prop each other up within reason. And that's what New Vine's about. It's that apparatus where those cross points happen, where artists are helping each other kind of like incubate and get out into the real world. And yes, remain independent, because that is a key factor. We want artists to be independent, even though we're a label, quote unquote.
Yeah. And I think our understanding of that has changed a lot as the company has grown. I think there are parts where it gets hard to navigate and where we've kind of like had to readjust our position on things, especially when it comes to like the fact that we pay for half of everything. So it's like hard sometimes to walk the line of like, well, we're putting up real money. And so what should we be getting back so that we're not underselling or undervaluing ourselves or not making enough back on our investment, you know? But at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's really important for us to always, and this is kind of where we've landed, we've kind of given up on some fights because at the end of the day, we're here to serve artists and to try and solve a lot of problems in the record label artist relationship. Right. So I would always err on the side of, if that means we get a little screwed, we get a little screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it actually might be the time where record labels get screwed.
Yeah.
Right? And
as long as our mortgage gets paid on time, I've come to the conclusion it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of the best analog or analogy that I can point to is, and it's a little weird, I guess, but we're parents. We're parenting new artistry, and healthy parents don't helicopter their kids. Right. They let them go, and they get them ready to be their own people. I think that works really well within the context of artistry. Provide space where they can grow, develop, and then eventually kick them out the door. And they become, alumni of our New Vine family. And we just keep hoping that new artists come in and that new money comes in, and then we can continue to do that with artists. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. It's something that labels have not really, major labels don't really do this anymore. And that's the whole artist development thing. Yeah. As we said, and I think it was the last show we did, that it used to be you would sign on with a label, and I'm talking, 70s, 60s, even 50s, like you would sign on to the label and they'd give you like a 3-album deal.
Right.
So they're like, okay, you're going to do 3 albums with us. Regardless of what happens, you're going to get to 3. Because they believe, the labels believed you had to develop artists over time. Yeah. Now it's just instant gratification. So it's cool to have, so New Vine's going to...
Or it's even worse than that. It's like shelving, It's like they'll sign people and then not even do anything with them. And then it just destroys the band,
Yeah, because of the pure competition of their own need to have a brand that is the best type of genre brand that they have.
I feel like that's the capitalism in it now. It's like we just want all the good, all the resources, and then we get to decide if we even use them or not.
Yeah. I actually do like some of the older stories of record labels and how they became a thing. And Geffen is one of my heroes. I mean, David Geffen was amazing. And he did love artists, and he chose artists that not everybody liked. He had a way of just like finding that talent, and Jackson Browne was an example of that, or the Eagles were another example of that. And it was a hit machine, and he limited it to a small group of artists, like 10 to 12 artists. And it just became a powerhouse in the industry because I do think they did focus on developing those artists. And then it just kind of eroded into a nasty sale and kind of like a money machine. But I think he loved the music more than he liked the money in the beginning. So anyway.
So I'd like to shift the focus a bit to just what's going on within New Vine. There's some familial relationships. There's some family happening here.
Yeah.
So I want to ask Hannah what it's like working with this guy over here.
Now remember, this is a podcast. We can be completely honest.
Well, for people who don't know, this is my father. So I grew up in, if you've ever been to our studio, there's the studio and there's a breezeway and then there's a big house. We grew up in that house. So I grew up in this environment since I was preteen. It's been... I probably didn't start working really with the company until I was in my late teens. And then in 2021, I took over as like a real leadership position. But I've been working with my dad as an artist since I was a teenager. And I think that there has been a lot of progress made in our relationship through that time.
We're not killing each other.
I think it was just like, it was a very natural thing for us to work together. Like I've always been a daddy's girl. Like we've always had like a close relationship. Working together was like definitely hard though, especially, because there was also like a lot of outside stress. I was a teenager, there was a lot of financial and otherwise stress in all of our lives. And it was hard when I was younger to work together. And also it's like, I don't want to listen to what you have to say when I'm a teenager. You know what I mean? No. Like there was also a lot of that, just like, honestly, just like development and teenage.
I thought
like,
you were super
feelings.
compliant. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And, you know, we've had sessions in here where we didn't even make it through a session on more than one occasion because we just couldn't tolerate being around each other. But as I've gotten older and as our working relationship has grown, I feel like we've really come to a spot where we can like hear each other and kind of have an understanding for what the other person is actually saying. Like communication is in any relationship, like I feel like the number one thing that you need to get together to have a healthy relationship, and like mutual respect. And I feel like we've grown in our communication skills with each other and mutually respecting. And yeah, now I feel like we're able to really work together pretty well and effectively. So, and like as a business partner, because he is my business partner really at the end of the day, like a lot of the financial, risk is on the two of us for this place. So there's a lot of business decisions that we have to make together. And I've realized that as much as I hate listening to him sometimes, like he really does have a lot of perspective that I never would think of because I'm very green. So it's like an important
You're being very nice right now.
Yeah.
No, you can be not so nice if you want.
No, I mean, I think it's helped me grow as a human. You know, I'm very competitive and very serious about what I do. I care a lot about it. And I never thought that I would get like in that way with family. But when you're passionate about something, the blood isn't thicker than passion. Blood is not thicker than passion.
Yeah.
Or vision. And so you walk on each other. And when you get a compatible vision, there's energy happening and a collaboration that pushes you forward. But there's also this other sideways energy. And that has a lot to do with communication and perspective. I definitely was spoiled having Hannah around because in all our session work, she was always doing background vocals for free.
Yeah.
And
child labor.
Yeah, pretty much.
14, 16-year-old.
Pretty much. And she loved it. And
I did love it.
It was a good experience for her. And people loved having her there. And then it just turned into way more. And, you know, and it did get a little, you know, Billy Ray-ish at times. And I started getting really uncomfortable with myself and realizing that, no, this isn't my thing. This is her thing, you know? And you start to become like those parents in the football stands, like screaming at the coach, what the frick are you talking about?
Why isn't my kid playing the whole game?
That kind of thing.
Why'd you take him out?
It's like, that doesn't work. And I guess at the end of the day, I gotta hate that phrase. I guess when all is said and done, let's use that instead.
It's so absolute.
When all is said and done, my artistry kind of triumphs over my feelings about working with Hannah. I'd rather have her and pretty much any of the artists here at New Vine have their expression and not mess or tamper with the DNA of who they are. And so when you can see through the haze of your own ambition, that's what I saw in Hannah. So
I think that like one of the hardest things about working together, and this has been on my end and on his end. So seeing me as any other signed artist has been, I think, like a struggle. And it's been a struggle for me to also not see myself as an exception because I also run the business, you know? So I'm like, oh, why can't, you know, it just like without even thinking about it, it's like, oh, I get special perks, but I don't. I'm a signed artist as far as Leo and the Maydays in the same capacity as every other signed artist. And the deal is the same across the board. And it's also been hard on your end, I feel like, as producer to in the past, like, respect the terms of the agreement as well, you know, but I feel like we've come to a point where that's like not an issue anymore.
It's hard to know where father-daughter relationship and business intersect sometimes, that it's a gray area. And it's just impossible to dissect that sometimes. So, and then we'll catch ourselves, and we're much better at it now. I think
we're pros.
We see each other as professionals and we respect each other that way. And I digress often to her decisions. And as her partner, she hears me out. Generally not till a couple days later, but she does hear me out eventually. But anyway, it's been what a journey. Honestly, can I just say this? I've had the best opportunity as a dad to get on a stage and play with my daughter in a professional way.
That's right. You play bass in the band, right?
I do. Mm-hmm. I play bass in Leo and the Maydays, and I help arrange and produce some of the stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've never had greater joy in many ways than get to play with my daughter on a stage in front of people. And actually, we like the music together. Mm-hmm. It's not like something we hate. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, but not everybody can say that, you know. We do have similar tastes and feelings about music, and sometimes she's a little too poppy.
The music's poppy?
I don't know.
Hardly.
There's this weird edge to it. It's once in a while, it's just like, oh, let's do this cover. It's like, are you kidding? Like
with the cover specifically, yes,
I'm like,
I understand.
Well, what's a cover that you've wanted
I made
to
them
do?
"Baby" by Justin Bieber.
Oh my God.
Okay.
The thing is, we made the drums.
She
like
did
metal.
make us do it.
We made the drum. We made the drums metal. So that was my thing, because that's not a song I would generally cover either. But I was going through a phase because we did "Teenage Dream" and that went over super well.
Actually, I don't mind that one so much.
I love that whole album.
The whole album's really good.
So good.
Oh, Katy Perry.
But after that, it went over so well with a crowd one day. I was like, man, we should try to do a few more covers that people like really, really know that are like, you know, older, like my gen, like pop hits. So I was like, let's do "Baby" by Justin Bieber.
There you go.
And we did it once and it was like, meh. So we haven't done it again.
Never did it again. Never looking back.
Yeah.
Another question, not really a question, but if you would tell us about why and how this band kind of came to be, but more about like why you do music and why you continue to be in this band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I can. Okay. So why do I do music? I feel like I could have done a lot of things, but it was the one thing that like just came very, very, very naturally to me, like since I was a child. So it felt like something I couldn't really escape from, and I could have just done it as a hobby, but I don't know, there's just something inside me that just wouldn't have been like super satisfied with my life if I didn't pursue it, you know? And I don't know if it would have been enough for me to just write songs and like play them at open mics or like write them and just sing them around the house or anything. Like I wanted to do more with it, and I felt like I was competent enough to do more with it. So that was the beginning of it. And you know, there was a decision point when I was graduating high school, and I was really seriously thinking about going to college, and I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But the fact that I didn't know what I wanted to do is what kept me from going to college, and music just kind of naturally fell into that gap. And that's what I've been doing ever since. So it was like a very organic decision, I feel like.
It's interesting you mentioned the college thing.
Yeah.
Because I looking back, of course it's 2020 to look back, but I would have waited before I decided to go to college.
Yeah.
I always felt like it was something I had to do, but it's okay to not go.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. Like there's a tangent, but
no, it's a good tangent.
Yeah, it's important. I think there's a lot of, I knew me growing up for me, there was a lot of pressure, like to keep up with the Joneses and like, oh, like you got to go to college. That's what you do. And then you're going to get a good job. And like, we're definitely, I mean, there's still some circles that believe that you should go, but especially with the scandals that we've seen with college admissions now. And like, I think we're in
the debt.
Yeah. The debt that you'll go into.
It's quite the racket.
It is a racket. Yeah. And so I think that's awesome though, that you were able to be able to sit with yourself and make that decision. Like, you know what? I don't really know yet what I want to do. I don't have to go to higher education now.
I think a lot of artists have to come to that point. A lot of people are in a discovery process at the age of 16, 17, 18 in
you don't
music.
have any real life experience at that point. Like, how could you decide like, oh yeah, I'm going to like spend all this money and learn all the, you know, unless you're doing like hard sciences like engineering or doctor stuff, but
stuff you have to have a degree.
Well,
you know?
all my kids, I've told them, Father John here, that if you don't know what you want to do, don't spend the money.
Yeah.
If you have a clear vision, go for it. People in their in their 30s finally get to that place, and they do. And my mom did that, and she became a nurse, and it killed it. She killed it. It was awesome. And she found a lot of fulfillment in that. Prior to that, she didn't go, and she was a house mom. But when she did that, she loves it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think education is it's super important in music. I still feel strongly that kids should have a form of education if that's their bent. And for her, I really had to ask myself, am I just being biased? Do I really just want my daughter to do well in this because it's a father pride thing or family pride thing?
Or like living vicariously thing.
Yeah, through that. And you know what? Even though there were probably some elements, if I were to be honest, of those things there, I absolutely saw talent in her. Mm-hmm. And when we started investing in that, there was definitely from the industry some response back to her. And so those were encouraging things. And we developed it further. And then I feel like we had that conversation. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Should college, blah, blah, blah. And to be honest with you, I just told her to go do her thing. And you went away for like
1 month.
1 month.
I did not last very long.
And she realized pretty quick that that's not what she wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I felt really good that I was able to do that and help her find their way. Now, I've had people challenge me as a dad and say, why didn't you encourage her to go to school? Yeah. I really think a lot of people shouldn't go to college.
There's definitely people in college that don't need to go. There's a lot
of at the age.
At that age.
I think that's the thing.
That's a good point.
If it was free, it would be so different.
Yeah.
But
some of it is like your community school, you know.
But a lot of people don't. I mean, my sister, for example, just passed up a free ride to community college because she wanted a SUNY, like bigger college experience, you know? So that is totally an option, but a lot of kids like don't think that way. They want to go to school because they want to have that freedom. They want to party. They want to whatever, like, you know,
it's
that
like a coming of age thing.
It's an experience thing. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but it is kind of stupid to go into so much debt if that's why you're going to college.
So for people in music, I
want to smoke a lot of weed, so I'm going to spend $40,000 a year to do that.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
So for people in music though, I feel like this is a great topic because I think a lot of people come to that place. Like it is tough to get to that place. It's like, am I good enough to invest in this? That's where I really feel there's a void. That's like the artist development thing, coming back to that. I wish I had voices in my life at that age where people were confirming something in me, confirming that I had real talent, confirming that I should invest in this, in music. And I didn't have any of that. I just kind of went that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an artist with that decision to go to college or not, and you have the funds to go to a private school, but you also like want to do music, and this is something I learned through my experience as well. Like instead of using the money for college, invest that money into your musical endeavor. Yeah. Like, imagine where you could, you know, that gives you like a big it props you up big time if you have those extra funds, like to allocate them.
I feel like that could be a controversial thing, and I love that because I don't mind a little controversy and a debate. Sure. But, you know I can count on both hands people that I know in the business industry, whatever you want to call it, whatever that even is anymore, where they went to Belmont or they went to Juilliard. And they ended up basically just touring with a band and then ending up as a producer in Nashville or something. And they realized, oh, they can't teach me this in school. I had to figure this out.
Yeah, that's why.
That's the thing. You know? Like going to school for music, I know so many people who end up just teaching or something, which there's nothing wrong with that. If they want to teach,
then great.
Right. But a lot of them want to perform. And if you're going to just perform, like, you don't need like 4 years at a private school, I feel like. Right. Like you really
unless you're getting some skill in a focus, say like somebody's like a classical guitar, focus. I'd say that's a real reason to go to college and sit under some amazing people. I don't know.
Well, some people will go just for the connections too. Like, I know I've learned this.
That's good.
From sitting in. I was able to sit next to the drummer for, what is that show? Oh my God, it's the one with the kid who he's like his some kid at his school dies, and then they come to the kid about they thought he was friends with him or something, and it's a whole social media thing that blows up. And
I don't know. Is it a Netflix show?
It's vaguely familiar.
It was on Broadway. Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh,
Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay.
There's a show.
Okay.
And I got to sit next to the drummer for that.
Okay.
At that Broadway show. It was awesome. Like he has his own booth and a little video monitor so he can see the conductor. And but he was a product of the Manhattan School of Music. And so what I realized, like, if you go to a conservatory, you're going to be networking with the people that are like in the industry, like who are doing the Broadway shows, who are doing
it's like a type of music though too. It's like that bend.
Well, that's what I was saying.
But you can get
classical.
in.
Classical instrument or orchestral music definitely has a track.
Yeah. And
where you make those connections.
That stuff's jazzy. A lot of jazz in the Broadway world, and is more focusing on the connections. Like you essentially are paying top dollar to connect with the people that are in those positions.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely coveted position to be a drummer or any musician on a Broadway Broadway musical. Yeah. So you just have to know people. It's kind of a club. It's kind of like an exclusive
So you're saying
club.
that happens in college, and I do agree.
That can happen at conservatory where you meet those people who you would really not have met otherwise.
Yeah, I would say though that definitely falls in line with the genre, like the type of music.
Yeah, jazz, classical.
Like most guys that I know in popular bands didn't end up that way by meeting people in college. They were playing or gigging in scenes. They built a reputation. Maybe they had their own projects and they were approached and they connect and they happen to land some kind of lucky deal where they just start playing. I mean, it's such a pipe dream. Yeah, really, it is. It's
tough. What was that, 1 in a million?
That was my idea to the podcast name.
And
but
so
I like
but it's a good concept. I mean, but there are different levels, right? And that's what we talk about. Like there's always that next level. So wherever you are, you're always going to want to get.
I'm in music, and I just called what I do a pipe dream. But the thing is, though, it kind of is. And one of the things we tell people is pursue it, but get a job. Get a part-time job. Take care of yourself. Invest in your craft, unless at least side hustle something, and just focus on. And that's the alternative to going to college. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say on this. We've taken interns all the time here, and most of them are schooled out of Oneonta, or there's a college called Houghton College.
I think we have one from Nazareth this summer.
Nazareth and SUNY schools come, and they have this like funny head knowledge about what they think the industry is. And they walk in here and we're making the industry happen along with many, many other people like us doing that. And it's like, this light goes on. It's like, I should have just come here. I should have.
Right. What am I?
Well, I'm spending $40,000 to learn basically something they're not teaching me, and I'm seeing it happen here. So, yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear back to Hannah and your musical project, Leo and the Maydays. We should hear one of the songs.
Yeah,
we should
let's
listen.
do it.
All right,
so
cool.
I like to do this. I like to go through and select songs that stand out to me. The first one here is Piggy Tales. So if you would enlighten us and share like what's that about? Or...
No, this was just Piggy Tales to me is from a part of my life where I felt just like it was right before I moved out of my parents' house. Like I was very much at like a crossroads in my life of decision making, kind of like what we've already talked about, and also just feeling like very trapped in my life and wanting just like not even freedom from particular circumstances, but just freedom in general, And it was before like I had my own car. It was before like I had my own apartment. Like it was just like, so that was like the background for it. And yeah, I think it's one of the best songs I've ever written as far as like the guitar part and everything. Like I wrote all of that by myself, which I was like 16 when I wrote 16 or 17. So I was like, wow, I'm so amazing. I just wrote this sick part. I'm super, super proud of that song. It was very formational for me, and it was a big confidence booster when it was well received, and kind of made me feel like it was my first big single. I was like, okay, I have something here, I can keep doing it.
And pretty much we use this as a closer at our set.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I love that one.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's listen to it. This is Piggy Tales from Leo and the Maydays.
Black and white is coming back around.
Well, that was Piggy Tales by Leo and the Maydays, and I have to say that was definitely, it's one of my favorites for sure. It's one of those earlier songs that we wrote with her. Mm-hmm. So when the Maydays came in on the scene, you know.
Yeah.
It's a solid tune.
Thank you.
And like I've seen you guys live, I think 2 times actually.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's solid stuff. There, you know, man, it's got like, it's just like one of those things where I always relate to the car test. You know, like if you can cruise down the highway,
enjoy it,
and like the song just, you know, it's the car test.
Yep,
it's a great test.
So it passes the car test, so it's really good.
Awesome.
I'm a fan. We now have music news.
Oh dang!
New segment.
Ba-da-da.
It's coming on. Yep, we have some. Tyler did something.
He did. He's gonna. Here it is. Ready?
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh my
away.
God! Listen to that.
Whoa. So music news. All right. So this, I just picked a couple of stories here, and actually, New Vine Reacts was another thing that we were gonna do.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, New Vine Reacts. We're gonna react to this.
I've been told I'm reactionary.
Oh, okay. Well, this will be perfect then.
Yes.
All right, and this is just a headline here, and I threw this in because I just couldn't believe that this was a headline, but I should not be surprised. Machine Gun Kelly rocks $30,000 diamond manicure at the Billboard Music Awards, and Megan Fox debuts bangs. That's
like the hairstyle.
Yeah,
I'm looking
the
at
hair.
the photo right now.
I need to see the bangs.
Yeah,
so there are diamonds on his fingernails. It's not his outfit, is what it looks like.
Yeah, they're on his fingernails too. Yeah, if you zoom in, and Megan Fox is debuting her bangs. So, you know, this is for someone who enjoys fashion and who is, you know, into the imagery of the whole music industry.
That's news.
This is news now.
Bangs
is news.
I'm sorry, Megan, but I like the long hair way better.
You've just never been a bang person.
No.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
I love bangs.
If it's like
on me.
Matrixy style bangs, like kind of nerdy, kind of nerd punk, I'm into that. But it's got to be very specific. It can't just like, oh, I'm just doing these like wispy bangs. She looks like a mom.
A hot mom.
Yeah.
Hot mom.
Well, the mom. He looks like a MILF.
Megan Fox is definitely one of the hotter.
Versus that? Are you kidding?
I don't know. You know, people get older too.
Different strokes for different folks, man.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you know, so that's some news. It's fluffy. It's very fluffy.
I like it. I like it.
It just comes back to, I will never understand what it's like to just be able to spend $30,000 on one outfit for one night.
We're pulling $30,000 just to fix up things.
Yeah,
right. And, you know.
It's like last night I was over at some friend's house and we were talking about who's that big football star? I don't think it's Tim Tebow. It's the one that's really old.
Brett Favre is pretty old.
No, the one who retired and then he got like
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We were talking about how much more that he's making now that he retired, and he's making like $375 million over 10 years because he got signed as a news anchor. That's that's $37.5 million a year on top of what he's already made in his football career.
Probably doing a book deal or two.
I just can't conceptualize that much money.
Right. It's hard to.
It seems dumb though.
It's imaginary at that point. It doesn't. Then it just doesn't.
You
matter
can't even spend
anymore.
that much money in a lifetime.
No.
You know, you have to give so much of it away, probably. Which
I
hope that he is. But
like that's the thing is like
the disparity between that and this. Like there's no middle ground. It's like
it's disappearing for
insane riches and then everyone else.
Poverty.
Yeah, it's especially in music.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's no middle ground, but I'd love to see a middle class musician.
There is some middle ground. Though.
I like that.
There's more. I think there's more than it would seem. There are a lot of. Although actually, what's very interesting is Black Dahlia murder, which actually this leads right into our next news story.
Awesome.
So Black Dahlia murder. They are the most successful death metal band. Now, how do you define success, right? But they're the most, in terms of like being the most mainstream of any death metal band, they did it. They have like 1 million likes on Facebook.
Oh, Rammstein.
Rammstein, right. But Rammstein is not death metal.
No, it's definitely more like a pop metal in a weird way.
This is like hardcore death metal.
Yeah. Something you wouldn't expect to be mainstream.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Then, and for them to have 1 million likes on Facebook
that is pretty
unprecedented for any death metal band. So their singer committed suicide.
Aww.
It was very sad news. And
when did that happen?
This happened recently. This happened about a week ago, a week and a half ago.
That's so
and my friend Tom, who's a big metalhead, told me about this. I think it was 41 years old, and he was like, well respected in that community. And just you hate to hear stuff like this.
Yeah.
He got involved in some strange things, according to the news reports. He ended up dating some like supermodel at one point, and they ended up starting an OnlyFans. Which was kind of weird towards and then all those videos got taken down after the news of him passing. Another thing that I heard was Trevor was his name, Trevor Sternad. And what was this next thing? So he the album Verminous was their latest record. It came out in like March of 2020.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the themes in this album were all about plagues and sickness, and which is very death metal to do.
Right.
But then like the pandemic started. So I could only imagine perhaps like his like maybe regret or just like
PR nightmare kind of.
Or just I can't believe like we created this album and now it's happening. Like that's got to be the shittiest feeling.
Like you're spreading death in the world during a time of death. So I always wondered about that kind of stuff, but when you meet these guys, I know some people in that scene, and they're like the nicest people. You know, they're like
it's like
they're
Satanists.
Chill.
Like Satanists are like
the nicest
super
people.
moral people. Usually.
I know Satanists that go buy socks for kids. So
no killing.
It's weird. But like, and they're probably more intelligent than a lot of people I've met. They're well spoken. Actually, we know who we're talking about, and it's really interesting. So, but yeah. Maybe we should start an OnlyFans fish.
Oh God, no! It's a bad idea.
We'd probably that
would not end well. I think about it like once a month, and I'm like, I couldn't do it.
What'd you say? Did you say I can't pay my car payment? I think I'll sell my feet.
You make money doing it.
I would just love to make money.
It's a strange phenomenon.
Sell foot pics. I don't think mine would do that.
Feet are innocent. No one has to even know it's you. It's just feet.
Until you
exactly.
That's what they all say. Until you're headlong into foot pic culture.
How did we get here? How did we start talking about feet?
I mean, death metal opened the door to anything.
Death metal to feet. Death metal.
The OnlyFans and the death metal.
So in the I want to spend more time on this last part of the musical New Vine Reacts news section.
Sure.
And this is something that I felt on a scale of 1 to 10, probably like a 7 or 8 on it in terms of how strong I felt about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this to you. So there's an article that came out in the Rolling Stone. Well, first of all, Taylor Hawkins, great musician, drummer for the Foo Fighters. He died, passed away.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
3 weeks?
Maybe a little longer.
Yeah. So this Rolling Stone article came out, and in the article, Matt Cameron and Chad Smith were interviewed, and I believe there were maybe some other drummers also interviewed. But Matt Cameron, great drummer, played for Soundgarden, and he played for Pearl Jam. He's played for maybe still playing with them. So he said he had and this is Matt Cameron talking to Rolling Stone about Taylor Hawkins. He had a heart-to-heart with Dave, and he told me that he couldn't fucking do it anymore.
Yeah.
Those were his words. The report also includes claims of a December 2021 incident when Hawkins is said to have lost consciousness on a plane in Chicago. Responding to Rolling Stone, Foo Fighters representatives denied that the drummer lost consciousness on the plane. He just said he was exhausted and collapsed, and they had to pump him full of IVs and stuff, Chad Smith said.
Jeez.
He was dehydrated and all kinds of stuff. Smith claimed that Hawkins later told him, "I can't do it like this anymore." Smith continued, "That was one of the straws that broke the camel's back. After that, he had a real important heart-to-heart with Dave and the management. He said, I can't continue on this schedule, and so we've got to figure out something."
Wow.
So a little insight into that. And
yeah, it just keeps unfolding more and more. Anytime I see somebody famous die, I mean, nobody wants to admit this, but the first thing you think is why? Like how? And it always comes out and it's just very, nice, and there's no, information that's really telling you why or how. It's like, and so, it just leaves it open and people are thinking about it. But sometimes these open up like this and it's just like a compendium of new information. And this one's really interesting. This is my reaction. Insight into one of the probably should have been the happiest persons in the music business, a drummer in the rock world, doing
So
really
successful.
well. Looks so he's just a good looking dude, like, and he's just so much energy and just has this vivacious thing. But obviously not happy. Much like the last story we just talked about, success and
it takes its toll. It takes its toll on you. There's personal stuff that we don't hear about.
Right.
All we see are the lights and the glamour, and we don't see playing a 3+ hour show multiple nights in a row for the Foo Fighters.
And traveling in between.
Because there was something in the article about going to Australia, like a one-off in Australia. So like fly to Australia, play one show, and that's it. And
it's so much.
Yeah. So Hannah, I wanted to ask you sort of what your reaction is to the Foo Fighters representatives denying what Chad Smith and Matt Cameron said, and the fact that Matt Cameron and Chad Smith apologized for taking part in this interview. Like, what do you make of that, for them apologizing for it?
Well, it definitely does sound like the management was trying to like brush off any fault for his death or for overwhelming him or for overwhelming his schedule. I think people who are too busy, and I can say this as someone who has been way too busy this whole year, it is depressing and it makes you feel trapped and crazy. Yeah, and it just makes you like it makes you feel like frantic, and you can't make good decisions like that. So I understand. I know he didn't kill himself, but I know there was drug use involved. So I understand.
Like a lot of drugs.
Yeah, I definitely understand like needing to find some sort of outlet or escape or just like way to feel better when you're in that kind of situation. And I think that it's bullshit that they're not taking any responsibility or wanting to talk about it.
Right.
I do understand the apology because if he told them that in confidence, I can kind of understand how, when people say things in confidence, you shouldn't be sharing that, especially with like a news outlet. But I also understand that they probably were wanting to draw attention and kind of like be like, no, this is why this happened and they need to be held accountable. So I kind of understand the apology, but like it did need to be said,
So I am going to focus in on the fact that they are doing what I see most of these people do. They are protecting a brand. They don't want any negative feelings about that brand. And to me, that is shitty.
Because they're doing it because they want to make money.
Yeah, it's
there's no concern for Taylor Hawkins. It's about we want to make money.
It's like, one of the reasons we started doing this is because we have endeavored greatly to make sure that our relationships with people in music center around relationships
and health.
And health.
Yeah.
And we have a hard time with that. And I can't even imagine that.
When there's so much money and influence involved.
Right.
Like,
I didn't realize the Foo Fighters were still as immensely popular. Like they are huge. Like they're playing in Abu Dhabi and they're playing in Australia. They're playing, and I'm like, I didn't realize how. And so it makes sense that the representatives would deny all of these accusations.
Yeah, they don't want to slow the train down.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because at what point like does the humanity? At what point is the humanity allowed to come through? At what point are we allowed to acknowledge that this business can be shit sometimes?
It is. It's shit because of the money. It's shit because of how much money at that level. And imagine we've talked about professionalism, right?
Yeah.
And if you had a tour and you were playing with the band at that level, and I'm sure there's a contract for this somewhere, but and you find out your fiance or your girlfriend is hurt, and you say, I have to leave right away. How do you think that's going to go down?
Right.
You know how that's going to go down.
Yeah.
People are going to be mad at you.
I have a crazy story about that. And just actually to tag on real quick before I go into my story, all the people that are a part of this brand, all of the crew and the sound guys,
the investments,
and the roadies. There's so many people depending on the show going on.
Yeah.
So that's a problem to get paid.
Yeah. And I do understand that part of it. You know, like everyone has families they're trying to support or lives they're trying to support. But it should never be at the expense of, really, it should have been better planned. That's what it should have been.
It should have been, there should have been some acknowledgement of that Taylor was struggling, and like maybe they did need to cut a few shows. Yeah. So what? You don't, you make, you know, I don't know what they make, but all right, so they make X amount instead of X amount. Maybe they sacrifice $10,000 each. Yeah. So that somebody could be sane and healthy. You know what I mean? That's where it gets
that's
sick.
the thing. If they care about their investment so much, invest in the people that make it capable of happening
in the long term.
You know? Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, the music industry has this mentality of like they'll just eat you alive and then they'll move on to the next person.
Because they know so many people want to do it.
And there's so many talented people in the world. Yeah. You can kind of do that. Like there's always someone who's going to want it so bad they'll make any sacrifices or do anything you ask, who can sing and who has a good look. And there's so many people ready to be replacements.
Yeah, that's kind of the reality. And that's why you got to vouch for yourself. And we talk about that a lot. And I bring that up now with any band that I join or become a part of. I'm always saying, like, if we need something, we ask for it.
Yeah.
Or we say, like, we need this in order to put on a good show. You want a good show from us? We need this to happen. Yeah. And we're not big asks. It's just like, hey, like, we need to have food for us. Give us food. Don't, so we can put on a show for you.
Right.
It's things like that.
It's like advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And saying no to opportunities is not a bad thing if you don't have capacity for it.
Also a very good point. We talked about that, saying no, and that's where good managers come in. You see, to separate from the band, because if someone in the band is managing, you run the risk of creating some tension. It's like, oh, you're being a dick. And it's like, because I'm trying to get shit done for us, you know, and like I'm trying to stand up for us, because otherwise people are going to just like take advantage. And they're just going to say, oh, they'll do it because they want to do it. Like, no, like we put on a damn good show. So like, all that stuff.
No, it's true.
Tell your story.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Story. And then I have a thought after that, but go for it.
So I was playing in a band, that crazy political band I used to be in, which was kind of insane. But
was it Madison Rising?
Yeah, Madison Rising. We'll probably do an episode on that alone.
I can't wait,
because that's a pretty fucked up.
We're gonna have a lot of patriotic music playing during that episode.
It's an interesting one. Yeah. They'll probably come after me, right? So with that group, so there was a show we did in North Carolina. My grandma had passed away about 2 weeks before, and the funeral was the same day as the show. And I was in my like early 20s, and I always had this mentality of like, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to do whatever whatever needs to be done to like get the show done. And like, I'm very good at compartmentalizing. So I went to my grandma's funeral in Florida. Or was it it was my grandma. My grandma's, I think. Well, I went to the funeral in Florida, and then after the funeral, I immediately hopped on a plane, flew to North Carolina, which was like maybe a 45-minute flight, and then played the show. And like they were waiting for me, and like they held up the show for like an extra 20 minutes until I got there. And then we put it on, and I just like I couldn't even process it, but now I look back on it, and like that was like ridiculous that I did that.
It was also ridiculous that they let you do that.
And I told them like, hey, like I'll plan it this way, I'll do it. But the fact that they even were like, oh yeah, okay, well if you'll do it, then sure. And they didn't even say no. Take
you
time.
Need space. Like that's not advocating for you as a friend. You know,
this is exactly why we need a union in music.
Yes, we've been talking about getting a union here for music. Like we need to fucking.
We need a body of laws like, that protects.
Like some of these places that are just not, and there's got to be some caveats too, right?
Sure.
It's got, you've got to be a certain level of musician. You've got to put on a good show. You've got to have that. Well, once you have that, and you're trying to get moving, you should. We should have a union going.
Absolutely. And for reasons like that, because there's too many things that can happen that allow for those unhealthy things to happen because we're made up the way we are. I feel like for whatever reason, music industry has lost that ability to govern itself because we're so mercenary, so independent.
It's desperate. Everyone's just desperately trying to make it work.
It's worse than Wild West. It's like Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Yeah, it's musical Armageddon, and we're all like running around with our DIY selves trying to survive in the wasteland of the music industry. And it's time to get some government and time to put some guards in place so people are healthy. This happening with Taylor is probably a good signal for that.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
it's not an isolated case by any means, though. It's like the tale as old as time. You know.
Yeah.
I think that there's a reason. I think artists are already usually good hosts for mental illness, just because artists are very sensitive and self-aware, and it takes a certain
some of them
empathic.
Level.
Not all.
Not all of them are self-aware, but there's just a certain thing that makes an artist, you know, and it usually goes hand in hand with some sort of mental illness, I feel like. But there's a reason that so many artists are addicted to drugs or alcoholics or just have things in their life that keep them in an unhealthy place. And I think like the way that the industry operates plays into that a lot. I don't think it's the only reason, but it plays into it, and it's
in every story of every major celebrity you've ever known in music. I mean, it's there.
Fame is a big, like when you make it big too, fame is a big part of it, you know?
And that breeds the question too, like, do you even want to be famous? Like, what's the point of being famous right now?
Is it worth it? You know?
Well, I was going to bring that up. I was going to say.
I have a lot of feelings about this.
Okay, well, this is good.
Let's get into it.
So here we go.
Yeah, we got to get those sound effects.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm just going to put the buttons right in front of you.
Yeah, just put them here. Yeah, that'll be great.
All the buttons are going to be shaped like Starkiss, and you might eat them by accident. So I feel there are people in music who, you know, there's this line between hobby and lifer mentality. And, you know, we've talked a lot about this. Are we doing this or are we doing this? Hey, buddy, you can't come in. Okay, you can watch. Okay. And do you feel that you're a lifer? This is the question. Do you feel that you're a lifer in music even if you never make it? And what does that look like for you as a songwriter and the leader of any group that you're with?
Yeah. For me, I think at this point in my life, I would consider myself a lifer. And my whole goal and mission for my life is to build a life that I'm very content with, that I feel safe in and that I can afford. And I want to be able to support that lifestyle with my art or by working for myself.
So that's cool, but what about when you're married with kids and there's no money coming in through the door because of you?
Well, that's part of that, like security and safety and like building a life that is able to be supported.
So what does that look like for you? What does that look like?
Well, that's kind of where New Vine comes in the work that I'm doing there. I mean, like the gigging is great. I don't make very much money off the gig, especially because it's my band and I always pay my players before I pay myself. So if we make $300 on a gig, I'm paying them all $100 and I'm not making any money. So, you know, I'm not making money off of my music, but the music is never going to go away and it's always going to be something that kind of takes money. And like maybe eventually I'll be able to pay for the music with money I make from the music, but right now that's not the reality. But I think realistically what I want to see is me not working for other people. So right now that's kind of my focus. And at New Vine, the work I'm doing is right now we're transitioning the house that's attached to our building into a rental unit. And that is going to more than pay for our monthly expenses at the company. And the plan is to continue buying and renting property or just like collecting assets so that we can support music and, you know, fund our vision here.
And pay artists.
It's not the only way we're going to do it. But the fact is, in the society we live in, land is valuable. And that's something that, especially where we live, is not going to become less valuable. So that's like just one way. You know, it's not the only way we're going to be funding everything. But it's something that is dependable. Whereas like, you know, making money off of music, it's like there's an ebb and flow to it. And sometimes you have a lot of jobs and sometimes you don't have any.
The music, it's funny. I come across this because there's people that will be artists and like want to just do their music and that's it. And then there's other musicians that are, work for hire, which I tend to fall more into that category. I do have my own stuff, but but like if you open up some more opportunities for yourself, if you are able to play as someone who gets hired for other projects and other bands, because other bands are always looking for guys and girls and theys and thems that can play. So that's kind of a conscious decision you make too as a musician. It's like, do I want to be someone that can just hop into different situations and be a ringer? Or if I really do want to pursue just like my stuff, my music, my artistry, that is even more limited in scope than the other route, which is still pretty limited.
And that's the category I fall into. I'm not a player that I am not a good enough musician to play for other people, like flat out. I'm a very good musician for my own needs.
Yeah, but you do something completely different. You do something I can't do, and I play. Yeah. But I'm not a songwriter.
Yeah.
And I think songwriting you guys are like mystics. Somehow
we were talking about that.
It just appears in your head. It's like, oh, I'm writing 15 songs today. Like, how do you do that?
And that is how it is. It's like there's an ebb and flow to that too. Like it's nothing, or there's like a million songs I write in a week.
It's really crazy.
But for me, like, because I'm not kind of like a mercenary musician in that way, where I don't play for other people and I'm not really capable of doing that. I am really focused on building a business here that can eventually pay me, so that I can work for myself in that capacity, So
I would call that, and that's one thing we've talked about, is a blue collar musician.
Yeah. I literally just want enough to have enough.
You know what? Most people I talk to say that.
Yeah.
I just want enough to be able to make what I make. And that's enough.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like that's so healthy to me. That actually would create genuine music that could be enriching. And I feel like if people actually got into this kind of pattern, we're going to see a revolution of genuine, authentic music that doesn't like sell people's artistic DNA out. And it's lowly. This is lowly shit we're doing. We were just picking up cut up deck in the front yard today and putting it, and loading it in and almost killing ourselves with that stuff so that we can make music. It's crazy. So
that is crazy. We should hear another song.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should definitely do that. This next song that I picked out is called "Kiss Me Hard."
Oh boy.
Tell us about it, Hannah. Tell us what that's all about.
This is the song that almost didn't make it on the record, because arrangement wise, we felt it was a lot weaker than everything else. I'm really glad we put it on though, because it's the only one that everyone plays on the radio, and it's a lot of people's favorite song, which is just so funny because I feel like that's how it goes so often. But yeah, I really like this song. It is about when my husband and I were still dating. He went to work at a summer camp for a whole summer, and it felt like he was never going to come back. And I wrote this song right before he left. So yeah,
cool.
Enjoy.
Cool. Let's hear it.
Kiss me hard before you go. Hard so I will know that you are coming back again, and you are going to forget about me. Promise on your mother's grave that you will get back safe and hold me up again. It is 3 a.m. again, just like the last time. Call me up at 3 a.m. like when we were kids in summertime. Wish upon a star for me. Bad things always come in threes. Cross your heart and tell me you miss me when you're gone. Kiss me hard. Kiss me hard. Kiss me hard.
I just think this song is funny. We almost dumped it, but it's the one everybody likes. So there you go.
It happens a lot. That happened with Somewhere Over the Rainbow in The Wizard of
No
Oz.
way.
That's hilarious.
That was on the cutting room floor.
Did not know that.
It almost did not make the movie.
Huh.
Yeah. And
it
it's
like made
wow.
the movie.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that song,
that's what's insane about
makes
it.
me cry.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's one of those songs that make me cry.
All right. Great. So this is the final segment. Final segment. All right. Let's start off with share. This is like icebreaker stuff. Share a story. Share a story with us in which you felt powerful.
Okay. I have two, and they apply to my two different sides.
It's not when you drop kicked me, was it?
No.
Okay. Let's not go there.
So, yeah, I think probably the most powerful I've ever felt. And this is crazy because I'm here and I'm 23 and I hold a title of CEO, which I completely have imposter syndrome about and don't feel like I have earned or deserve at all. Right. And this past year in September in 2021, we purchased our building, and that was like my first big thing. Like I took that title at the beginning of 2021 and was working really hard through the year. We had 1 year to buy the building or else it was going to go on the market. That's a whole other story for a different time. But so that was like the thing that year. We all were working super hard. I had point on that, and I was on the phone all the time with banks and like getting everything figured out. It was a lot of work. And I think the most powerful I've ever felt, only because of COVID, I was the only one who was allowed to go to the closing. And so I was like 22 years old.
Wow.
Going to this closing for our building by myself, writing the checks, talking to people who have been, selling houses and banking for like 25 years. And I just felt like so out of my element, but so proud of myself and so proud of like our whole company. And just like, also I felt powerful because I felt like very safe, because up until that point, it was like, if we don't buy the house or buy the building, like we're basically done. Like that's the end, we can't. It would be so hard to just like move our operations to a different building. And this building enables us to create things that are industry standard that we wouldn't be able to do other places, So I also felt powerful because there was just a sense of security that I got. I was like, all right, they can't take it from us anymore. Like we're good. We're safe. We're not going anywhere. And I felt powerful because it was like, all right, I'm a badass bitch. That's
right.
So
let them know.
Yeah, that's one. And then just another quick one, just for my Leo side. We played a gig at the range this past Friday, the 13th of May in 2022. And, I know there's, I think you said you had some mixed feelings about that venue. I also do, but that is one of the only places I've ever played where it is always packed and I always make money. And everyone was very engaged with us during that show. And I felt super confident. And that's been a struggle for me on my journey. But I feel like I'm finally coming to a place as like a band leader or like a front person where I feel really confident in my ability to run a room. And so that show was just kind of like a culmination of that. And we had a great crowd. And I felt super in charge.
Except with the girl twerking during the song Brother.
Oh no, that wasn't that show.
Oh, okay.
That was like
hey, we still got money. We got money from that show.
I'm talking about the one we just had.
Anyway,
that's cool though to hear about the range that like it was a good show for you, that it was packed, and that my issue with that, and this is an issue I usually have with a lot of club style places, is that it's just too loud for me. The mix is too loud, and
the sound was a struggle.
And that's the only thing. If they could get the sound to be more sensible and like to have the frequencies properly adjusted and aligned, then so at least for me the shows would be more enjoyable there.
Well, the louder it is, the more beer they sell, Sam.
Is that true?
I think there's some scientific study
there
to
might
prove
be,
it.
actually.
Yeah, there's some data. I think we could look into that. Anyway.
Cool. All right.
No sarcasm.
Let's get on to our last topic here, and it's social media, because we always like to touch upon this as it pertains to music on this show and etc. So, social media, Hannah, we would like to know how you use social media and what benefits you see from using it.
Okay. Well, I don't use social media properly or as much as I should be.
Well, there you go. There goes that question.
She's just pretty honest about it.
No, I hate it because it makes me feel like shit all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
I hate being on it, even though like I would say.
What about it makes you feel like crap?
It just like the thing I feel like everyone would probably share the same answer if they say that, it's just like comparing yourself to other people's achievements and accomplishments and feeling like you're behind. Even though I know in my brain, like what people put on social media is not their reality. And a lot of people have the same feelings about struggling to make it, and I'm sure people feel the same way when I post, it's just like we put our best selves out on social media. But yeah, no, it's something I wish didn't exist. And I understand that it's important, and it's like how I feel about putting a house on the market to rent. Is it something that I saw myself ever doing? Do I have a problem with like allowing people to live on something that I own where I don't live? Like, sure, maybe like fundamentally, like I can see how that isn't the way that things would ideally work. But the society we live in is that way. Like money is a thing that we need to survive and to have power and to make any sort of decisions. And so, I'm going to try to do whatever I can to survive and make money. I see social media as the same kind of thing. It's like, it's something I wish I didn't have to use or didn't have to participate in, but to have any sort of influence, I feel like it's something you have to be kind of, able to do.
It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
Yeah, right? It's the way that it is. So I try really hard
to do a good job.
Do a good job with it. And to also just like, I think it is, I guess if I could say it's good, it would be because it's made me do some deep work on like, why do I feel inadequate, or why do I compare myself to other people? And so, if I could take anything good out of that part of it, it's like, it's helped me grow as a person, I guess, in like being more confident and just like, well, I don't really give a fuck. And I'm just going to keep doing my thing and try not to compare myself to other people, and stay focused on my lane. But yeah, it's something that I wish we didn't have to use.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's one of those things that, and I've been investing some money into it as well, just because it feels like that's what you have to do these days to remain relevant and have influence. But what I'm also realizing, if it was not here, like the world would continue on.
Oh,
and
it'd be so much better.
We would be more focused, and we would be more about this kind of discussion and interpersonal relationships, and we'd be fine without it. So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
If it all came down to it and all the electricity wasn't around, we'd still be able to pick shit up and play in music together. And I think about that, like how wonderful it must have been for people to actually do that. And not have to depend on all that other stuff. And wow, I mean, people say it's a better time to live now than it's ever been. I don't know.
Well, it's the most convenient time.
Yeah, sure.
But is it the best time? I don't know.
I would say quality of life. Probably you lived a lot less time back then, but I think the time that you did live might have been better.
It's an interesting thing to think about too, and it's hard because context, right?
Yeah, sure. So, we weren't there,
right? So social media, man. Ugh, it's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. We got last song.
Let's do it.
Okay.
This last song here is called "Upstate New York."
Okay. And, I'm glad you picked that one because. I think this is the sleeper on the album.
Okay.
I think it's the one that had the best written. It was just, it's clever. No one likes Upstate New York. That's the point of the song.
Yeah.
And we do love Upstate New York. It's our home. We love it.
Yeah. It's somewhere I think will always be a part of my life. Like I've often talked to my husband about like, in 10 years, say everything is great and we're not struggling financially and the company's not struggling financially and we can pay someone to do my job. I would love to always be a part of it and always be here in some capacity, but like have a house here and we live somewhere else 6 months of the year. Like that would be ideal, because I feel so connected to this place and to New Vine and to like our community here. But, I mean, I'm fully aware of the fact that like I'm in my early 20s and I'm like super heavily invested in something. And I don't know if I'm going to always want to only be heavily invested in one thing for the rest of my life. There are other things that I want to try someday. But I feel like this place will always be in my life and like a huge part of me, you know? So that's kind of what upstate New York is about.
Yeah.
My favorite, I mean, the hills and dinosaurs analogy is like,
we used to talk about that when you were a kid in the car.
I always thought, because I was a dino kid, like obviously.
Yeah.
A huge dino kid.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, I always was like, man, I wish they would just wake up and be dinosaurs.
Well, you know, there's a documentary coming out, a nature documentary about dinosaurs.
Really?
It's a new one narrated by David Attenborough.
Oh man, I'm all over that shit.
It looks really cool.
I love dinosaur documentaries. Quick tangent. There was one about the first full T-Rex skeleton that was ever found.
Oh, I love that one.
And it was like they found it in South Dakota.
It was like a DIY
and they
crew.
And it was like stolen from them essentially. Because
didn't
of a
NASA
bad
get involved
contract.
Or something?
I don't remember.
It was a government organization that came in and took it from them.
Yeah, and it was like they poured their heart and soul into this, and it was like in storage for years, and then it was auctioned off for like millions of dollars. And like if I ever had excessive money, the first thing I would do is fucking buy that dinosaur and put it back in that little museum where it belongs, because that's where it was found, and that's where she should be. But anyway, upstate New York.
Here it is.
I could spend my whole life in upstate New York and not even feel sorry or want anything more. The hills will always be massive dinosaurs to me. They died a million years ago. Trees grew when they decomposed. I feel safe here. It's my home here. I know that you don't feel the same. I feel happy in the summer, but winter makes me change my mind every year until the flowers bloom again.
So that was upstate New York, and it's awesome. And so, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, absolutely.
Hannah, aka Leo.
Please tell us where you're going to be next.
Yeah,
when's your next thing? What's happening for you?
So, oh man,
This might not reflect the date when we play it back, but still.
True.
Tell
But
us.
just let us know.
Yeah. This summer I've got some solo shows coming up as well as some band shows.
Nice.
How about I just say you can jump onto my social media and check out where we're going to be, so it's relevant to when this comes out.
How do we find you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, look me up at The Artist Leo. And then on Facebook, it's Leo and the Maydays. And I'm working on getting a website together, but I'm really bad.
Or you go to Newvine, right? We can
you can go to newvinerecords.com. Yep.
Right.
And I'll make sure everything's up.
And we
to
do
date.
have a new EP coming out this summer.
Yeah, in August,
exciting.
we're
We do.
working on putting something out. It's going to be more of our country-ish
teaser.
side.
It's going to be goth country.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
emo. Yeah.
Emo country.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Some music video maybe, or some sort of thing?
Maybe we'll see. I got a photo shoot lined up, but I'd love to do a video for it. We'll see what the summer brings. But
I'm getting into the music video thing. I'm starting to see like how they get put together. So I'm planning to
I'm
do
lucky
That's cool.
because I'm married to someone who can put them together pretty well. So
Beautiful.
I'm using you for everything.
There you go. Might as well.
Right.
It's a
So everybody,
partnership.
thanks for joining us today. And just one little mention, if you're interested in supporting the arts, we're a great company to do so. We're a 501c3. And we literally take every penny we have and we very disciplined, with a disciplined nature, not spend it on beer. We spend it on the artist who spends it on beer. But no, in all seriousness, we spend it on their projects. Media is not cheap. We love paying artists for live events. We love paying people in the industry like producers and all these folks. And it does take a bit. So please go to our website and give. Also subscribe to our podcast on YouTube as well as on Spotify. And if you're listening to it on Apple, please subscribe to us there. Continue to follow us. And we will have merchandise coming down the road for those who are interested. And it is all tied into our From the Vine, which is live performances and podcasts, and New Vine Records. So Fish, thanks for being on the show today. Leo, thank you so much. You guys, until next time, later.